Some of the wars that you don't hear about that the United States are involved in are in Africa. So let's take a look at this article. Okay. New report reveals that U.S. Special Forces are active in 22 African countries. Okay. Pay attention. The U.S. has roughly 6,000 military personnel scattered throughout the continent, with military attaches outnumbering diplomats in many embassies across Africa. So, I mean, this is no surprise. Embassies are effectively a nice way of saying spy stations, but, you know, in this case, tells you everything you need to know. Tells you about the United States priorities. A new report published in South African newspaper, The Mail and Guardian, has shed light on the opaque world of the American military presence in Africa. So last year, elite U.S. Special Operations Forces were active in 22 African countries. This accounts for 14% of all American commandos deployed overseas, the largest number for any region besides the Middle East. American troops had also seen combat in 13 African nations. The U.S. is not formally at war with an African nation, and the continent is barely discussed in reference to American exploits around the globe. Therefore, when U.S. operatives die in Africa, as happened in Niger, Mali, and Somalia in 2018, the response from the public and even from the media is often, why are American soldiers there in the first place? That should be your response in regards to any and every country. But nonetheless, so the presence of the U.S. military, especially commandos, is rarely publicly acknowledged, either by Washington or by African governments. What they are doing remains even more opaque. U.S. Africa Command, which is commonly referred to as AFRICOM, generally claims that special forces go no further than so-called AAA, so advise, assist, and accompany missions. Yet in combat, the role between observer and participant can become distinctly blurry. Once again, the cover, right? Every single one of the British and American and coalition occupation forces cloak their missions with this label of, oh, we're just here to assist. We're just here to provide security. We're just here to train. We're just here in a supervisor capacity. The U.S. has roughly 6,000 military personnel scattered throughout the continent. Way more military attaches than diplomats. Tells you everything you need to know about what their priorities are. The Intercept reported that the military operates 29 bases on the continent. One of these is a huge drone hub in Niger, something the Hill called the largest U.S. Air Force-led construction project of all time. The construction cost alone was over $100 million, with total operating costs expected to top $280 billion in 4 years. Equipped with Reaper drones, the U.S. can now conduct cross-border bombing raids all over the north and west of Africa. Oh, shucks, man. All of that money, how are they going to pay for it? I don't hear anybody complaining about the cost of this. No one. Yet you still don't have health care. No free college. And they screwed you in the pandemic. But it's okay, guys. It's okay. Don't worry. You know why? Because you have a nice base now in Niger. And it can do cross-border bombing raids. Isn't that nice? Wow. Your tax dollars put to good use once again. Look at this map over here. This is the footprint of U.S. Special Forces in Africa. And everything in green, these are countries where U.S. Special Forces have a presence. I really wonder what Rwanda and Angola and South Africa are doing right. They're lucky enough to keep the U.S. forces out. Washington claims that the military's primary role in the region is to combat the rise of extremist forces. In recent years, a number of jihadist groups have arisen, including Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, and other Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups. However, much of the reason for their rise, here we go, can be traced back to previous American actions, including the destabilization of Yemen, Somalia, and the overthrow of Gaddafi in Libya. Wow. Seems to me that British, American forces going into other countries, destabilizing them, toppling their governments, interfering, imposing military occupations, does more harm than good. Matter of fact, it does no good whatsoever. It hurts these countries even more. And then they give rise to terrorist groups, which they fund. Weird how that works, right? It's almost as if it gives them a justification to maintain a permanent military presence, a permanent military occupation, under the guise of regional stability and training for decades and decades and decades. And before you know it, the entire planet is crawling with American bases. Oh, wow. 800, 900 military bases. I wonder how this happened. Crazy, right? Crazy. While training foreign armed forces in basic tactics might sound like a bland, unremarkable activity, the US government also spent decades instructing tens of thousands of Latin American military and police in what they called internal security at the notorious School of the Americas at Fort Benning, Georgia, now rebranded as the Western Hemisphere Institute for Security. Recruits in the 20th century were instructed on internal repression and told that a communist menace lied around every corner, meting out brutal repression on their own populations once returning. Likewise, with counterterrorism training, the line between terrorist, militant, and protester can often be debatable. You see, the United States, they've been very busy in Latin America. So not just overtly, but also covertly, right? Selling drugs so that they can finance right-wing militias and opposition groups in Latin America to overthrow democratically elected governments and then install a puppet regime backed by Washington, D.C., training these opposition groups in torture, in kidnapping, assassination. Yeah, this goes back a long time. You have a lot of reading material from the Cold War. When we address these sorts of things, we're looking at the conventional armed forces, right? At the same time, however, the United States has a second private shadow army, which is not often talked about. Blackwater, you go look at things like Silver Corps with their Bay of Piglets in Venezuela. You look at all these private mercenaries that are contracted by the US government, not just ripping you off, but committing war crimes. And you essentially have a second shadow army also spread out throughout the globe, which Blackwater were very proud of and used to boast about in their marketing videos, right? And their ads. We're ready to go at a moment's notice. We got troops everywhere. And then they show you the map and you're like, what the fuck? Oh, yeah. I just want to point out the hypocrisy of the United States and the British talking about foreign intervention, saying, oh my God, look at Russia interfering in XYZ or Iran interfering in XYZ. Yet, Iran and Russia don't have 900 military bases spread out across the globe. They don't go and create bogus wars and then fund jihadists and use that as an excuse to maintain a permanent military occupation. This is the issue when you have progressives who come up and tell you like, oh, we got to end the unjust wars or the endless wars. Do you notice how they say unjust and endless? They qualify it as if there's some kind of good war. No. Listen to me. As long as you're perpetuating this philosophy, this doctrine, this foreign policy, that it's okay to go into other countries and install military bases under the guise of democracy, human rights, stability, you're always going to have fucking wars, and they're always going to be endless. There's no such thing as a just war. I don't care how long the fucking war lasts. It's still a war. It's still killing people. It's still illegal. Who are you to decide what is a just war or what is a short enough war? Pay attention. That's what you hear from progressives. They don't say, oh, we want to end American imperialism. We want to close down the military bases. We want to completely defund the Pentagon and use this money for us. No. They say end the unjust and endless wars. So wait a second. You're saying there's such a thing as a just war? No, bitch. There is not. It's not even up to you to go to war or to decide who you can bomb. So I just wanted to bring your attention to AFRICOM. I just wanted to bring your attention to these shadow wars, these covert programs that they run. It's about world domination. It's about imperialism, right? It's about projecting U.S. hegemony, U.S. power, U.S. influence all across the globe, ready to go at a moment's notice, intimidating other countries. There's a reason that the US Navy is parked off of the coast of Iran. There's a reason why they have military bases surrounding Iran. There's a reason why they invade all these countries that seem to be in proximity to Russia. There's a reason why they come and put Patriot missile systems in Poland and missile systems in Turkey. There's a reason for this. And rest assured, it's not in the name of humanity or human rights or democracy. All right? And you're not going to hear about any of this on MSNBC or Fox News, right? You're not going to hear about any of this. Last week, when AOC is ranting about this Twitch recruitment by the military, I didn't hear any mention from her about this. Can she explain to us what's going on with these U.S. forces being deployed in Africa? What are they doing there? What are they doing in any country? Why has no one addressed this? You would think that these progressives who ran on Medicare for all, free college, Green New Deal, and who keep getting attacked by people who say, oh, we can't pay for this. The first thing that they would do is be like, motherfucker, look at the wars. Look at how much we're spending. Look at this drone base that cost hundreds of billions. But they never say it. Isn't that weird? I mean, if you had some Republican senator sitting in front of you telling you we can't afford universal health care, wouldn't you bring that up? Motherfucker, that's the first thing I would bring up. 60% of the federal budget is going to the military. That's the first fucking thing I would bring up. I mean, look at all this money being wasted on killing people. Can you justify that? You never hear that. You never hear any of them say that. No one brings up these shadow wars in Africa. No one brings up these 25 bioweapons research facilities that are spread out across the world. You never hear a single progressive talk about that. Isn't that fucking weird? It's almost as if they're covering for the military-industrial complex. It's almost as if they don't want to actually mount an opposition to U.S. imperialism. They say we want Medicare for all, but then they won't actually make the real case for it. They won't actually fight to reallocate those resources towards Medicare for all. Isn't that weird? Just saying. I'm just saying. And once again, they talk about ending the wars. Not enough. Not enough. I don't care if your troops are sunbathing in Iraq. Get them the fuck out of Iraq. Okay? I don't care if they're playing ping pong in their bases in Helmand province in Afghanistan. Get them the fuck out of Afghanistan. Are you okay with the Afghanis putting a base in your country? Are you okay with that? No, you aren't. Is it okay for Iraq to come put a few bases in your country? Would you accept that? No, you wouldn't. Double standards. These bases, this military presence and oppression, is a drop in the ocean compared to hundreds of years of colonization, which was also done with illegal military occupations, oppression, slavery, all the wealth that they stole, that they're still fucking stealing with their transnational corporations, mining everything behind the scenes, keeping it all hush. Explain this to me. How is Africa the most resource-rich continent on the planet, and yet they're underdeveloped? Could it be that hundreds of years of white people stealing their shit has set them back? Could it be that putting military bases there and funding wars and stirring up shit has set them back? This should not be a thing. This is the most resource-rich continent on the face of the planet. They have everything. Everything. Africa should be light years ahead of any other fucking place on this planet. The only reason that they are held back is because of white colonialism and white imperialism. That's the only fucking reason. And it's still going on through these military occupations, through these wars, these shadow wars, and through the multinational corporations from the same countries coming in and plundering the resources. And so colonialism didn't end. We're just in another phase of it. There's still a neo-colonialist relationship with these countries in the global south. In Africa, in the Middle East, in Latin America, in Southeast Asia.